Hello, it's Emmelandula here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about some psychology about the disease of addiction. So I'm no psychologist at all, but these are just things that I learned about in my group therapy that I'm going to, and also I'm interested in psychology, so I looked it up a little bit as well. So basically, what makes a disease? The first thing is something that's detrimental to your health, which alcohol and addiction is. There's a lot of things that it causes, like to your liver, to your, your body, your stomach, withdrawals, all that stuff. It's very detrimental. The second thing is sign and symptoms. So obviously there's a lot of different symptoms, like, lying and possibly stealing or drinking more excessive than a normal person would. So basically just, excessive stuff. There's a lot. We could talk all day about signs and symptoms. The third thing is that there has to be abnormal tests. So basically, there's hundreds of different types of tests out there, and the abnormal tests has to do with the brain activity. So allow me to explain. So basically, in a normal brain, there's different parts of the brain. We have the frontal lobe, and that has to do with decision making. And so what's right or wrong, the morals, values, survival, like what's safe and unsafe. And that's, in a normal brain, that's usually pretty big. It's a big part of the brain, the frontal lobe. We also have something, and it's called the nucleus accumbens, and that is in the middle part of the brain. Another name for it is the reward center or the pleasure center. Now, we need that part of the brain for things like eating, drinking water, sleeping, recreation, because we want to repeat those behaviors. So it helps with survival and repeating those behaviors. So we do need that part of the brain. But usually that's a pretty small part of the brain. But in someone with the disease of alcoholism, the frontal lobe is a lot smaller, and the nucleus accumbens is a lot bigger, so it's more activated. So that's where basically the decision making is smaller, and the reward center is where we want to repeat stuff is more bigger. So that's where basically, unfortunately, we have less of a choice. We don't really have much of a choice in terms of our drinking or using during our active addiction because of the way that the activity is. So basically, we don't really have much of a choice. It's survival. Our brain uses it that we need alcohol because of the overstimulation of the activity of the brain more than we are drinking water or eating food. So you can't really internally make a choice, but you need external factors in order to overcome this, like changing behaviors, for example, or going to rehab. Things like that. We need some sort of external source or a power greater than ourselves in order to overcome it. So that's basically, and also another thing is that something that can help is therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy. So imagine there's a triangle, and at the top there's thoughts, at the bottom right there's feelings, and at the bottom left there's behaviors. They all affect each other. Thoughts affect feelings, which affect behavior. So if we can change the thoughts, we can change our feelings and our behaviors. So we often need to challenge our thoughts, like rephrasing something. Like, for example, if we're trying to get a job and we don't get the job after a job interview, instead of thinking, I'll never get a job, change that back to, all right, I didn't get this job, but hopefully I'll try again and we'll see what happens next time. So thinking more neutral thoughts or positive thoughts, which will change our feelings, which will change the way that we behave. So that's about it. The information that I got from the disease of addiction is also from a video about this instructor, and it's called Dr. Todd Karen. One of 6 lectures, Understanding Addiction, and there's like 6 lectures and stuff, and there's more about it. So that's where I got the information from, but we learned about it in group therapy, and so I thought it would be really cool to share, because I strongly agree with it, because addiction is a disease and it's hard to have a choice. I mean, obviously we gotta try to use some willpower, but that's basically why it's so hard. And so that's why if someone's like, well, why can't you just stop? Well, it's not that simple, but we gotta have a lot of outside sources. And even then, that's why it's so tricky, and why a relapse is so dangerous, because when we relapse, our brain goes back to our nucleus accumbens goes back to that, and our brain is like that. But it could take 1 to 5 years, but our brain activity can go back to normal, where our frontal lobe is bigger than our nucleus accumbens. So yeah, that's it. I hope you all have a great day.